Okay, as promised, here is the video on the HEI install on my 1977 Ford F350 with a 460 V8. The reason I didn't do a video last night, didn't have time, partially, but it was getting dark, and this was not as easy as a bolt-in as you would think. I'll go over a few things here. First of all, the positioning of the distributor is very crucial on this. It's actually a very complicated step. I will go over some of the problems. First was, and some of these distributors they sell online tell you need a certain thermostat housing, outlet, inlet, whatever, forget at this moment which direction it's going. But anyways, all I had to do was right down here where my finger's pointing is grind a little bit out, because this edge of the distributor hit, it wouldn't fall all the way down. I'll go ahead and install a distributor in a moment. The other issue you have, as you can see how close this is to that, I got a vacuum ported switch for the emissions back here. That also is another issue. And where the wiring comes out of the bottom of the distributor right here. So, and of course, the biggest one is the vacuum advance. This positioning for my vehicle is optimum. I have the most amount. Some places you can put it in, you can get it in, but you could turn it, or if you could turn it, you couldn't turn it one way or the other of where the number one firing position would be. So that was a no-go because I couldn't retard it or advance it. And so that was the biggest concern, and that was a lot of putting the cap on. You see all the marks, and there are a bunch of dots because it's multiple times to figure out where I wanted number one to be. Same wires. The Ford uses an H, but they like to even call an HEI type cap on it. But anyways, the second issue I have is when you want to pull this out, in case you're doing it in a really older vehicle, a lot of times getting it out, if there's a lot of carbon buildup on the inside, it's going to be hard. It's a matter of fact of up and down motions to break the carbon loose, and then of course I suggest changing the oil. The second one is make sure that you haven't pulled your oil pump drive out. And if you do, that's going to be fun trying to fish it with a magnet. Or if the worst case scenario, you drop it down the oil pan, you're going to have that nightmare of taking your oil pan off. This one wasn't an issue because I've done this a few times since I've had distributor issues, and that's the reason I'm gone to this, is because this is a brand new, you can see, billet HEI distributor. The problem I've had is all you can go to is, I'm not even going to mention the name of the company, but everybody knows the company that makes these bad distributors, and I've gone through so many. One, the issue was you hook up the vacuum advance and it was backwards. It must have been designed for a distributor that spun the other way or something. It would actually retard the timing, and so that didn't work. And then a lot of the ones I've had, wire's a little tight there, were a lot of slop in it. It's the biggest problem you have is the breaker plates and stuff like that are worn out, and so many issues that your timing just bounces all over. So that's why I've gone to this. Just sick and tired of all those issues. And then the other issue, the reason I've done this is because my CDI wiring into the cab, the coil wire is the biggest issue. The resistor wire here, which that is a mistake. I should not have a resistor wire hooked up to this coil, but at this point it's too late, because my issue has been in the winter time, or start of winter time, or anytime it rains really good, cools the temperatures down, this thing has these odd times where it wants to lose ignition and to start sputtering. And I figured out the best way, because I used to try and pump the gas, and that ended up flooding the truck, because even as a 460, it will flood real easy. So I had to, this was the easiest solution to get rid of the stumble. And actually, so far, I ran it, last night I ran it and drove around the block with nothing more than an outer gator clip, and had it hooked directly to the battery, and started, and it ran great, huge difference. Only issue I have is the vacuum advance is adjustable, and it's turned all the way in. I got too much advance, but I'll show you how to adjust that. I got a trick to that I learned by accident here, so I'll show you that once I'm done. I'll show that in probably another video. But anyways, the install, you can see, is done here. Second issue I had was, as huge as this thing is, and the issues of around, the height is also an issue. So the air cleaner would no longer fit. That is off a Chevy van. I just happen to have that and the longer rod, so that fixed that issue, except for now it rubs back here. And it's lucky I have a truck, says I have no issues with height. You know, if you have an older vehicle that doesn't have all this evap system on it, you could just put an aftermarket air filter that'll fit on it and be done with it. But I have to run emissions. It doesn't have much emissions, but what it does have has to do with part of the air cleaner, so that's all I did is put it in. It works fine now. Put the spacer on, good to go. I'll remove the coil at one point, but it's also the only place I can mount a spring that's holding my kickdown lever in place, since I got it disconnected because this thing was so low geared it will throw the belts every time, and it's like wants to detonate the engine, because there ain't one point in time that the kickdown downshifting this thing has ever works. This thing pretty much, once it goes down the road 100 feet, is in third gear, so it's always in third gear. It never needs a downshift. It's just that low geared. But anyways, so that is the mechanical part of it. Next we'll be getting to electrical. And as opposed to chopping all this wire out, I've been figuring out here what controls what. So pretty much I'll just leave it in place. I do have an issue with, and this is probably where my wiring issue is, but like I said, as opposed to rewiring the vehicle, you know, you got multiple powers on a Ford truck. One brings power through a resistor wire to a coil. Another one brings power over this to what I call a CDI box, whatever, module box, whatever. So it splits the power. So I wanted to make sure that I did this properly. Plus, rewiring all that, not knowing where the issue is. These two wires in the brake booster I found. So I obviously have where these wires go, because they go through the same harness. That's probably where the issue is. At this point, I don't care. I've already started. I'll figure out what these two broken wires go do and fix that. You know, that's probably why my amp meter doesn't work or whatever. Temperature gauge, oil pressure, all that works, but for whatever reason, I don't know, these wires are cut, so I'll work on that later. And I'll show you on the inside if I figured out sort of what is what. See, I got the ignition switch pulled down. This is why in the old days, Ford trucks, and even now, were so easy to steal. All you ever did was carry the Ford ignition switch around with you and just unplugged it and stuck it below and started it. As we all probably know, I have a hidden kill switch on this that's automatic, so that's not an issue. You know, finding where it's at and all that is way beyond anyone's time and effort. So first step I did here, and you can see the clamp here holding the two wires, and you can tell this really rotten toasted wire is the one that goes to the coil, and that one's the one that goes to the control module box, CDI box, whatever it's really called. So I disconnected it, turned the ignition switch on, and made sure that radio, everything electrical that needs to work still functions. So I know for a fact that that doesn't power anything else I need. So I will just try it first to hand pick this connector apart and reuse it. Been pretty good at this most times in the past of doing that. And then I'll just run that power wire through my kill switch and then right to the distributor. And that's pretty much it. And it'll be ready to go. And that's about it. You can see how to do the kill switch in a bunch of different videos. I will do an updated one on the issue I had with this truck, the kill switch, and these AutoZone or aftermarket or old worn out starter solenoids later on, and how I fixed that problem. But at this point, that was all a waste of time because it's being changed again. So there you go, the basics of what I'm doing. I'll probably do a follow-up video of that final install and the fact that it still works. So till then, see ya.